Hey, Amanda here from Shanti Atma Yoga New Zealand, and getting now a little bit more into that mind side of the training. So, on these 100 and 200-hour yin yoga teacher trainings, we also get the opportunity to really take it into the brain side and your brain on yin. What happens? Why do we do what we do? And when we can talk about this neuroplasticity side and this mindfulness side, for me, that's where everything really comes together. That's that beautiful crux where everything can change. I'm super passionate about this one when it comes to the neuroscience and the actual brain. That's where it's at for me. So, what we're going to get into is the way in which, as facilitators of yin yoga, how can we explain to our students the way in which your brain is actually affected? Because not only is it on a neurological level and you notice these physiological changes within, but it's this presence. And once you can actually own and understand the power of the brain, the world is your oyster, really. So what we see here is we'll get into what the nervous system actually is, the actual breakdown of it. We'll go right back to the basics, 101 of the nervous system. Building on that, we'll look at this concept of neuroplasticity, the ways in which we can actually change our brain. For so long, it was thought that our brain was rigid after a certain point. We became hardwired. Couldn't be further from the truth. So we're seeing this neuroplasticity come in where we can actually mold and shift and recreate, build, regenerate these neural pathways within our brain. So any patterns, any beliefs, any limitations that we come up against, we actually can come back into a place where we can rewrite the story. We can change that. Why this is so beautiful is because when we're in yin yoga, we have the opportunity to help our students guide into that more alpha or theta brainwave. And when we get into that place, there's something truly magical that happens. We become a little more malleable, a little more easy to shift and change and work with those neural pathways. With that comes such a sacred power, because it's up to us to then create this safe space for people to be met with the mind, the emotion, the energy that's going on within them on their mat. But we also have the space to really offer them what it is that they can do with this neuroplasticity. What are new habits that can be created? What are old ways of thinking that we can start to let go of and really notice the things that might be limiting us, holding us back, that self-sabotage, that internal dialogue that not only shows up on our mat, but in our day-to-day. We have the power to really work with that. We can sit in a place of mindfulness, become so aware of what it is that we're experiencing, and from that place, we have the power to choose the way in which we respond. We can step away from this reactionary way of being. When you notice physical sensation becoming too intense, we've got these reactions, let's call it. And these are ways that we can react and allow the sensation to dictate our practice. But when we can become this mindfully aware being in that moment, we now get to actually observe the sensation. We observe what's coming up internally, and we get to choose from a place of wisdom how we respond. And this takes practice. It takes time to really understand the breakdown of mindfulness, the actual science behind it, how it correlates to our on the mat practice and off of the mat, and how that directly ties into neuroplasticity. Because you want to get to a place where you're truly mindful of the ways in which you react, or the ways that you speak when under stress or met with challenge or discomfort. And when we can see that, that's what gives us the opportunity to notice what's working and what's not, and what to focus on and feed, and the ways in which we can work with the rest. So to see this science come together, this neuroplasticity and mindfulness, we're going to start marrying the two and show how we can bring these together, how we can guide this sense of mindfulness throughout the practice by reminding people what that looks like. The Buddhist philosophy has this really beautiful translation of mindfulness, and it means remembering. Remembering who you are, where you are, what you are, when you are, all of it, and remembering to come back to that present moment. What is it that you're experiencing right here, right now, and how are you going to respond? And when we can show people that, not only in ourselves, but guide them to take that power for themselves, that's when the practice becomes this transformational journey, to be honest. And this is the beauty of really cultivating that connection between mind and body. So we'll get a lot more in depth into what that looks like and get into the science behind the brain, this neuroplasticity concept, and how we can then bring the mindfulness in and truly start to see some incredible shifts in not only ourselves, but in the people that we come into contact with. So I can't wait to chat a little bit more about it. See you soon.